I have a proposal, which I think is, I feel like the single elbow to elbow touch it's a little, you're not engaged enough, right? It's like very fleeting, right? You touch elbows. I think if you did a double elbow touch, you could still have your distance,
and it's still personal.
You need to lean in a little bit.
I like that.
It guarantees eye contact. It virtually guarantees eye contact. You are,
bro.
Yeah, sort of like in the same way that when you shake someone's hand, you're seeing, do they touch this area here? Is it like, do they give you a solid, like a little bit more than your bargain for, like, okay, my elbows hurt a little bit.
You got to give me a solid bump, bro.
Yeah, I'm just throwing that out there as a new social convention.
I love it.
Post-COVID world, but,
If I start seeing that, I will die laughing hysterically. Working in events since 2005, I've always been inspired by people coming together to share ideas. I'm Amanda Younger, and I'll be your host on Happy Hour, where I share a drink and a laugh with guests over stories and our hope for the future, the live event experience. Today, I'm speaking with my friend Nick Gauchat, Chief Product Officer over at Suzy. He's a former colleague of mine over at MRY, and we have plenty to catch up on. Thank you to Milliman Green's Premium Texas Bourbon, which is made from Texas corn, Pacific Northwest malted rye. You've got Wyoming barley. It's a lot of fun. And of course, I'm having their triple cask, which is a large combination of Texas bourbon with a papa spice, married with a Tennessee whiskey with their vanillas and fruits, and then an aged Tennessee whiskey, which has a lot of structure and tannins to it. So I'm really excited to try it. Also, thank you to Cheeky Cocktails for their fresh ingredients. Of course, today I'm using their agave syrup for my whiskey sour. And of course, their fresh lemon juice, which I tend to use a lot. Be sure to check out their products online and use the code Happy Hour for a special discount. Special thank you to Loxamana Media. You create, we capture. Be sure to continue the conversation with us online at eventspeak.com. Subscribe on Apple and Google Podcasts. Follow us on Spotify and iHeartRadio, and favorite us on Stitcher to get all upcoming episodes and help others find our show. Be sure to comment below. We love as much feedback as possible in our earliest stages. Make sure that you check on over and subscribe to our newsletter. There's a promotional giveaway that's heading your way, and we'll have a little bit more details there. So together, we can make the difference in live events. Hey, welcome back to Happy Hour, and we are starting off 2021 with the we better record now because my wife could give birth any minute, Nick Gauchat.
I say hello, listeners.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, listeners.
For Happy Hour, I'm drinking a whiskey sour. It's the Milliman Green Triple Cask Bourbon Blend, Cheeky Cocktails, fresh lemon juice, Cheeky Cocktails, agave syrup, and some egg whites, which are, I think they're in there. But hey, Nick, tell the listeners who you are, what you do, and what you're drinking for Happy Hour.
Okay. My name is Nick Gauchat. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Suzy, which is a tech startup in the DIY instant market research space. I'll talk a little bit more about that. I am drinking a Lefroy Neat.
Oh, Lefroy. Well, cheers to you, Nick.
Cheers.
Thanks for coming on to Happy Hour.
Of course, happy to be here.
Now, we met back at MRY, where you were kind of a staple in the New York office. I was actually in the field out of the Boston office. But from the start, you were working on the digital side of event marketing. And now it seems all of us experiential marketers are trying to catch up with your expertise. Any advice for all the new digital experiences replacing live events?
Well, I think whether it's online or in person, it's all about connections. So if you have an in-person event, it's about making people feel welcome, figuring out ways for people to network and connect with each other. I think from a digital standpoint, it's the same thing. We're obviously on a video call right now. So the more that you can personalize experiences and make people feel like it's something that's catered to their interests, I think that runs across all sorts of marketing.
I think it does. Well, now you made Rep Nation extremely efficient to where operations could grab representatives from any campus and send them a marketing kit for any new client. Did you find that like localized events gave better value and maybe a cheaper option over the marketing tour for clients?
Yeah, so I think especially on college campuses, that was a really effective way to get the word out. Just having a table on campus and giving out free stuff, or building out, a campaign with kind of an ongoing activation on a college campus was super effective. So Rep Nation was really good at kind of bridging the digital and the experiential. We sort of saw it as almost you are doing a media buy, but across a bunch of college campuses, and making sure that you have people on the ground, which was the students themselves. So
yeah. Well, and Rep Nation was also a major arm of the annual College Fest event over in Boston. I wanted to ask, did you have a crazy story from one of those events? I know mine was driving a box truck around Boston long enough to get the fuel tank to empty so it could park inside the convention center. And let me tell you, there's nothing like driving a large vehicle in a colonial planned city.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I feel like we had somebody dress up in some kind of outfit. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. There might have been a mechanical bull involved.
I like that.
So I think we had somebody dressed up with, we had somebody, I think, dressed as a dinosaur on a mechanical bull with the Rep Nation t-shirt on, which is a good way to create some buzz.
That sounds about right. I think that's definitely viral somewhere.
Yeah. Those are always super fun events. And,
Yeah.
I think for college students, the value there is pretty amazing to be able to walk around and get a bunch of free stuff early on in the school year. So those are always a lot of fun, and I think pretty effective for marketers.
Yeah, and that whole surrounding area, there's just so many college campuses there. So there's no lack of students for sure.
Sure. Enough to have a fest.
That's right. And College Fest was basically like a trade show. And I know we've done a few trade shows together. I know that you would go to a trade show and you used to hand out business cards, and then we started to scan name tags, and now it's all RFID. Any idea what the new thing might be, the new technology might be?
So I just remember when you and I were working together, again, kind of connecting that digital to that in-person and kind of event technology. It was always very stressful in the registration area, because, if you're building a website or an app and there's a bug or an issue, someone might file a ticket or something like that. It's another thing when you have 10,000 people waiting in line and they're on their way in. So I think, the enhancement of digital kind of on top of experiences that are in person. I know that during the pandemic, another thing that's people have gotten into, again, it seems to come in cycles, is VR stuff. There's been a lot more market share for the Oculus. Facebook's owned them for a few years now, and I think that could open some really interesting doors of in person, but versus creating those same experiences with VR.
Yeah, I know. I've already talked to a couple of agencies that have discussed creating a virtual world environment for my upcoming digital events.
I will say, I think at the same time, and this is societal in general, but
Mm.
in marketing and events, I think people are starting to more and more understand the value of seeing friends and family in person, or even seeing coworkers in person, or seeing, being at events. This was sort of our world has gotten so digital in general anyway, and this is a real turning point of, well, can we just do everything virtually? And I think the answer is a resounding no. There are certain things that I think will never go back and will always be the same, certain doctors' visits and things like that, if you can get your prescription refilled with telemedicine, maybe that's always easier to do in the future. But I think it's more and more showing the importance of some human interaction, even if you can do things digitally. So it's been kind of interesting to see.
Yeah, no, I think we've all gone through that kind of learning process, but it's been fun to see what technology can bring us. And in certain areas, kind of gives us a little bit more ease, but in others kind of gives us an uneasy feeling to where we need to go back to that personal connection. So I like that folks like you are out there kind of gathering that data and figuring it out. What shall stay? But I think in general, you seem to be kind of a good luck charm for startups. I know that Suzy isn't your first, but tell me how it's been with Suzy.
It's been going really well. So I joined the company in the fall of 2017. At that point, the company had been around for a few years, but had a pretty major pivot to kind of this new space of doing, DIY market research and, being able to really talk to consumers and get, many responses very quickly. So essentially on the consumer side, we've got a database of consumers that log into an app or a website and launch questions or earn points. And on the client side, clients can go in and talk to any sorts of users they want and get a response back, usually in half an hour for 500, 1,000 responses. So that was kind of the core of the business. And then over the past couple of years, we've built in a lot more tools for analysis and things like that. So it's been interesting. 2018 was very startup-y, a lot of late nights, a lot of very hard work. This year, we raised some funding at the beginning of the year, and we're kind of ready to take on the world. And then obviously the world changed
right
in March, but it's been interesting to see. I think there are certain things. One of the initiatives that we launched this year is something called Suzy Live, which is essentially allows our clients to do in-depth interviews, kind of like we're doing right now with analysis and some other tools. So kind of taking what was something in person and making that, driven by video and analytics and, more digital. So that was something that we noticed as a company early on in the pandemic. In our industry, a good portion of the industry is still in-person focus groups and qual conversations. So how do we figure out a way to make that a digital experience? So I don't know. It's been an amazing ride, and the company's, we're hiring a lot right now. There's a lot of growth for the company, but obviously been an interesting, year for everyone.
It's been interesting for everybody. And I've talked to people in retail, in print production. I've talked to tons of vendors, and everyone's basically said the same thing. Wow, what a year. We've learned a lot. So I can imagine with a startup, it was a lot of reanalysis kind of and reassessment, like in the middle of it, every step of the way. It's great to hear that you guys are expanding, and hey, if you guys are hiring, everyone, if you're interested, check out Suzy. And I understand you're also on the brink of fatherhood. How has
Yeah.
COVID-19 affected you and your wife? Shout out to Pam. Pam, we love you.
Shout out to Pam. I love her very much. I mean, it's again been a tough year, but we've been very blessed. My wife is very pregnant right now. She is due on January 10th or whenever she calls me from the other room and we need to go to the hospital. So it's a little bit of a weird feeling because I feel like my life is going to change in a big way. I just don't know when.
Well, do you have the bags packed?
We got the bags packed. They're in the next to the front door. And so we're ready to go. I think we might have a little bit too much stuff. Kind of looks like we're going to the hospital, have a baby, or maybe like
going on a vacation to a hospital. And actually, is the COVID protocol, is that what's the big difference there? Is there, I don't know, a restriction on the room and where on the delivery room, and are you able to be there?
Yeah, so I have not been able to go to mostly all of the appointments, the doctor's appointments, but I am allowed to go to the birth of my child, which is great.
Okay, that's good.
The main rule is that I can't leave and come back, which seems totally fair.
Right. Once you're in your own bubble, it's going to be your baby bubble. So it's going to be fun. Last time I checked, many people have gone through this. It's okay.
Been done before. We didn't come up with it.
Now, I have to say, my best Nick G happy hour was actually a night in New York City. I saw the sunrise, but it actually led me to jump in a taxi with a model from the Ukraine and a Japanese ping pong player, and kind of ended in a diner for breakfast with another colleague of ours, Scott. And I feel like you live life like improv, saying yes and everywhere you go. How has the COVID lockdowns and working from home, how has that affected your way of connecting with people and experiencing life? Because I feel like on a personal level, you are that person that is out there having tangible experiences.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's tough to do as much of that in the confines of your home. So I don't know. I got a gift for Christmas, which was some socks that say "coolest guy in the conference call." So, if you're on a Zoom call, I guess, making things fun or whatever. I don't know. I feel like early on in the pandemic, it was weird to figure out how to carve out something that was a little bit interesting or different.
Yeah.
I had a question for you.
Oh, tell me.
Do you think that at some point, probably middle of the year, there'll be a situation where events and public places start to open up, but you need to present some sort of "I've been vaccinated" card or have some sort of proof of that?
Probably. I mean, already the restrictions that you currently have to do are already in place, where you still have to get thermometer check, this, that, and the other, but there's still COVID screening at the door. I think there will be, especially with vaccinations, like, I know it's weird, but you should have like a card. I know when I get COVID tested, because we've had a couple gatherings, and here where I'm staying, we have vulnerable folks. So we just say, get a test, and then just kind of, and everyone kind of shows us the paper. Hey, I got the paper and this is the date. And it's just like, date, negative, cool, done. Let's come on and let's hang out. You know, if we do that on a personal level, I think on a professional level, we'd probably ask for the same. So we do as much, we can do as much COVID screening at the door. I'd be into it. And I wouldn't say no, but I also wouldn't say no to doing a lot of things to get in to an event, to be with people and connect with others and enjoy a concert.
Well, because I saw that I think Broadway is supposed to open in May or something. And I was just curious how they would make that work without.
When it comes to indoor venues like Broadway, we are currently not planning, or at least I'm not currently planning on 100% capacity for indoor venues in May. I think Broadway is going to open back up, but I'm not expecting them to open back up at 100%. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
I feel like the card thing would make sense. I mean, obviously, if we get to the point, hopefully, where it's, you know, at a such low percentage that people aren't worried, but I don't know. I imagine it's something like I feel like something like that will happen in the future, where you need to show a card or prove that you've been vaccinated or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I know when I go through TSA, I don't mind going through and getting the full body scan. There's a lot of people that don't. And, you know, they go off to the side and they get, you know, wanded. And I'm sure that in a post-COVID world, there's going to be, you know, just kind of a protocol that's put in place. There's going to be people that are like, I'm uncomfortable with that. You have to make sure that you put in order, not just making sure the easiest and most efficient way to get people in as quickly as possible, still COVID screened, but you have to have an alternative for those that disagree with, you know, new procedures. Be like, okay, fine, that means you have to take a rapid test and you have to sit over here in this tent for 15 minutes. But once each of those people have completed that, once they come in, you know that your event is safe, you know that everyone that has entered is healthy, and you at least have, you also have the data of everyone there for contact tracing, which is also very, very important when people leave your event. But I think that's something in the protocol that will be in place. So I would expect, you know, your express lane with an alternative like wait hold lane. And I think that's fine to kind of make sure that everyone who purchased a ticket gets to still enjoy the experience.
Which is, so shaking hands is a custom across the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most of the world, not all
Yep.
the world. In some countries, when you greet somebody, you kiss them on the cheek once. Maximum 3. I think it's 1 to 3. Maybe there's a 4 kiss place, but I'm pretty sure you're somewhere in that. Do you think that this is an opportunity for us to renegotiate and come to a standard for some of these social pleasantries? Is handshaking out for a bit?
I mean,
it's, you know, maybe 3 kisses is too much. Maybe you're, you know, 1 is max total.
right.
It's going to be that we all come to a common standard.
I've done a lot of the elbow bumps for my close friends, like, hey. But when I've been meeting people lately, instead of the handshake, it's kind of a bow, but it is like nice to meet you. And I've been putting, because sometimes I do the double handshake. I really want to, it's so great to meet you kind of thing. So to
like
me,
primary colors.
yeah, exactly. Oh man, yeah, when he can hold you two hands or the elbow or the shoulder.
Yeah.
He's really bringing you in. I really like handshaking. It's a hard thing to break.
Right.
Ah,
You learn a lot about a person by the, how firm their handshake is and
yeah.
whether they look you in the eye.
I would say that I will most likely return to handshaking. I think most people could return to handshaking. I think the new thing that will happen is masks returning, and us taking the mask culture from the East. And, if I'm sick, I'm going to wear a mask so that you don't get my cold, whatever it is, because I don't know what it is, but it's not cool. So I'm going to wear this and we're all going to be just checking. Because usually people are walking around and you talk to them, and it isn't a while until you really recognize that they are sick and they're at work sick. And I've gone to work sick. And people are like, oh man, you really need to go away. Can't you work at home? And I'm like, I need the big screen and I need all these things. And no. So I think that will be actually the biggest change is the adoption of masks on a new basis. Yeah.
I feel like there's going to be like barriers of entry to comfort that didn't exist before, which is like if you would just shake a hand with a stranger. Now, even you who loves shaking hands, you're gonna like look them up and down and be like, are they worthy of kind of like the Seinfeld Sponge episode? Like, are they worthy of it? Okay, all right, they'll get a handshake. And then if it's, if maybe it's a European thing or whatever, kissing on the cheek, there's got to be an extra pause for at least a while of, is this someone I would kiss kind of thing? And then the mask thing, somebody comes over to your house or whatever. If you take your mask off, it's like a sign of, I have some comfort.
Trust.
With
right.
It's going to be, because originally, and this might be made up, but I think the handshake was like, I don't have a sword, or like I'm showing you that I'm
trusty. Yeah, I'm trustworthy.
Trusting. I don't know. They're going to get potentially a little bit more selective.
Yeah. I've also gotten used to having the little Purell in my pocket.
Yeah.
Travel Purell in your pocket kind of thing. And I've gotten really used to when I leave the grocery store, when I leave at all, just in the transaction process, as clean as it is, as contactless as it is, I know that I've touched something. And I always put it on immediately when I get into the car before I close the door. Before I kind of put my hands on the steering wheel, I've already Purelled my hands like a crazy person. And so I've gotten really used to doing that now. How annoying. Now that's going to be a new etiquette I'll have to learn, which is if you do shake someone's hand, how soon can I Purell it afterwards? And doesn't that say, I don't trust your hand?
Right.
And so what is that etiquette? So
if you're an enthusiastic shaker, but a quick Pureller, like, or is there a pregnant pause between the shake and the Purell? Like those could really
am I sneaking the Purell? Because, am I, and will I, instead of, and to avoid that awkward situation, do I opt out of the handshake and do like a pleasant bow? I will not shake your hand. Oh man, that's, Woo, gonna have to think about that. The protocol of my Purell after touching another human being.
Right.
Oh, I don't want them to think that I think they're dirty, but I think they're dirty.
Well, it's your.
I know you shouldn't let your guard down, but at some point you have to start trusting those that you bring into your environment.
No.
Now, if you're in another environment, maybe a work environment or something like that, I think the work environment is so used to new things, such as, especially in like the global market. I think bowing and not handshaking is fine. When you're with your friends, you know each other, you talk to each other, and you trust each other. So I don't think that part will change. I think I'll still give my friends bear hugs when I go like, hey, but I also know if they've gotten vaccinated. I also know, a year from now, how they're doing.
I have a proposal, which I think is, I feel like the single elbow to elbow touch it's a little, you're not engaged enough, right? It's like very fleeting, right? You
Yeah.
touch elbows. I think if you did a double
Yes.
elbow touch, you could still have your distance,
And it's still personal.
You need to lean in a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I
and
like that.
It guarantees eye contact. It virtually guarantees eye contact. You are,
bro.
yeah, sort of like in the same way that when you shake someone's hand, you're seeing, do they touch this area here? Is it like, do they give you a solid, like a little bit more than your bargain for, like, okay, my elbows hurt a little bit.
You got to give me a solid bump, bro.
Yeah, I'm just throwing that out there as a new social convention.
I love it.
Post-COVID world, but,
If I start seeing that, I will die laughing hysterically.
Okay.
And I'll be like, they've met Nick G. The double elbow bump. That's what we're looking for. I wonder if you could be like, boo, 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 boo. Yeah. You do multiple ones like kissing. Instead of, you just do one if you just met them, 2 because you like them, but 3 you do the rotation, and that's really close.
We're already riffing on it.
See?
And this is where you do the, like, if you have other ideas of ways to
yes, then please comment below.
Put it in the comments, yeah.
I love it. This is wonderful. Well, Nick, what can we expect from you in the new year? Do you have any new projects on the horizon? Is your social filled with baby videos? What's going on?
So fatherhood is by far the biggest thing I'm focused on. In terms of the sharing the baby photos and stuff, I'm not a huge social media guy, so I don't know if you'll see any of that. But I don't know. Fatherhood, number one thing, I think from a work standpoint. Again, as I talked about, super excited about where the company is headed.
Yeah.
We have a robust roadmap for 2021. Excited about that. Might be launching some templates this quarter and a couple of other things that really make the complexity of market research be really plug and play for our clients.
Ooh,
maybe set up a repeatable data structure for longitudinal data, aggregate data that can help drive your business, all the words. And set you up for success.
Latin, I love it. All right. Where can people learn more about Suzy?
I think the best thing is just go to Suzy.com. Are you interested in learning about what we do? You want to talk directly to consumers and understand where your business is headed? Are you looking for a job?
Looking for a job.
Talented developer. You want to help drive our one of our several product roadmaps.
Oh man,
That would be
sounds
available for you
exciting.
too.
I love it. Well, as usual, when we close out this wonderful segment, we do a dance off with the outro music. Are you ready, Nick G?
I am.
Dun, 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 dun.